Welcome to the Fearlessly Authentic Sash and Soul podcast. In each episode, we'll explore the power of embracing authenticity with a winning mindset and overall well-being to help you navigate life and the pageant world with confidence and resilience. I'm Rayanna Johnson, former Miss Wisconsin and founder of Fearlessly Authentic Coaching. So let's dive in. Welcome to Sash and Soul. Hello, welcome back to Sash and Soul. This is episode number 59. And guys, it's a beautiful day. I'm in just like a really, really good mood today. I just feel like things are wonderful. Despite all the stuff that we may be seeing every time that we log into TikTok and are scrolling, I'm just in my own little world feeling pretty good today. So I hope that you are doing the same thing for you. Find time to take a break from all of the noise and just listen to the quiet. Find things to be grateful for, finding appreciation, and just really elevate your spirits. I've got clients that have been talking about how much they are minimizing their time on social media. And I really applaud that. I've got one that has an app that monitors, literally only allows her to go on social media for a certain amount of time a day. And then I've got another that I don't remember what she called it, but it's a device that she taps her phone on every time she leaves the house so that when she goes to school, she literally cannot access things on her phone that are social media related or outside of anything that she would normally use for her classes or work or whatnot. And then when she gets home, she can tap the device again and then access those accounts. And that is so brilliant. One of the things that I know we're all very aware of is time management, but one of the things we are less focused on is our energy management and focusing on the things that give us energy versus the things that steal our energy. The energy sucks, so to speak. And also just knowing the tools to kind of take care of yourself when your energy is depleted so that you can work towards refilling it. But I think that is an excellent strategy. Minimizing time on social media, minimizing screen time, taking opportunities to be outside in the sunshine, to be speaking with people face to face rather than hearing all the noise. So with that, man, I don't know, I'm in such a good mood. So today we're doing a little bit more lighthearted podcast episode today. It's been pretty heavy. Last week, I talked about how to avoid burnout, how to best take care of yourself, especially during a busy local season. The week before that, I was talking about just the weight of the world right now and just focusing on human dignity and being good people. And that was all, of course, in the wake of so much of the national trauma that we're experiencing right now. But today I was like, let's just lighten up the mood a little bit. I'm feeling good. I just want this to be a fun episode. And I was talking to my intern Sharon yesterday. I was like, what do you think I should talk about? And so we got on the topic of unpopular opinions. Some of my unpopular opinions were more so, they're not even unpopular opinions necessarily. They're more so like just my pet peeves about things in pageants. So I'm just going to go on a bit of a rampage today about some of the things that irk me when I'm talking with my clients, when I'm seeing it online, when I'm hearing it through the grapevine, just the things that I'm like, can we just not? Can we please not? So I have a list here on a little sticky note. And as I was writing my notes, I actually had to flip the note over. And I've got some notes on the back of my sticky note too, which I feel like is like very wrong, right? Like that's the sticky side. You can't see the back. So anyway, I digress. So let's kick this off with, so first thing Sharon said to me was maybe do a podcast on personal branding. And I was like, oh, that was my immediate reaction when she suggested I talk about personal branding. And I get personal branding, I think is really important. I have friends that are influencers. They are developing their personal brand as part of their business as influencers. I have to focus on my brand within Fearlessly Authentic and my brand with Sash and Soul and being really consistent with that. But this idea of building your brand as a pageant title holder or a pageant contestant is like, call me old school. It's just a little relatively newer for me. Back when I was competing, I'm going to age myself. So back in the mid 2000s, the 2010s, when I was competing, like personal branding wasn't as much of a buzzword, like that branding word wasn't as much of a buzzword, partly because social media was really starting to kick off. You guys, when I started competing, we actually had rules that we were not allowed to use social media, and how times have changed. It's wild. Like now it's very much expected of you. And oftentimes, like even in the job description, of the title holder using social media. So I understand why branding is a big deal now. And I understand because there's all this emphasis about, being a title holder and developing your personal brand because you are an influencer within this pageant system. I also understand the concept of personal branding when it comes to your messaging behind your platform or your initiative, or just your messaging as to set you apart as a title holder and being consistent. But here's my take. Here is my maybe unpopular opinion on personal branding. If you are doing the deep work to understand who you are, what you're all about, what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, what you're knowledgeable about, what you're skilled at, what your values are that you're bringing to the table. If you are doing that deep work to understand who you are and consistently showing up in that light, that's your brand. There it is. So when it comes to developing a brand, from my perspective, it's more so about uncovering your brand and then being really consistent about who you are. And then, of course, we can get into the weeds of, okay, well, what about branding in terms of coloring or font, like the visual branding, or like wardrobe and styling and all of that? Like, yeah, we could absolutely get into the weeds about that. That's the fun stuff though, right? Like that's the glam. That's the uncovering your unique personal style, the hairstyle, the makeup, the wardrobe that makes sense for you, that is flattering for you. And you can certainly hone in and develop that as part of your brand, but have fun with that. I don't think that there is a perfect recipe for branding. If you were to work with me, if I were your coach, the way that we would be approaching your brand is everything that I had said at the start of this, which is let's uncover exactly who you are. Let's get really clear about your messaging behind your initiative or your platform. Let's hone in on your strengths. What are your inner qualities? Let's work through any limiting beliefs that are holding you back. Let's really lean into and appreciate the things that make you different, that separate you. Let's build up your inherent leadership skills, your solid communication skills. Like those are the things we would be focusing on as part of your brand so that you are showing up consistently. So my unpopular opinion about personal branding and developing your brand is woof. Just know yourself and show up genuinely and authentically as you, and it will evolve. A brand is not something that you develop overnight. It is a long-term, consistent approach to putting yourself out there authentically, vulnerably, just real, just you. All right. And your brand is going to shift and it's going to ebb and flow. I mean, I've changed. I think a year ago, I overhauled my logo for Fearlessly Authentic. And I'm constantly taking market feedback and adjusting things to make sure that my programming is doing everything that I want it to be doing and is valuable for consumers. So, it's just a little different when you're talking about your own personal brand as a human being versus branding an organization or a business, or even as an influencer that has a brand because you have brand deals with other companies and they are investing in your brand. So I could go on, but I think that I would be beating a dead horse, which we don't want to do. So my next maybe unpopular opinion, more so just from a very personal standpoint, my own values and morals, is that you do not need to break the bank investing in a coaching program. There are coaching programs out there that charge what they're worth, and they provide you more value than what you're even investing in. That's the kind of coaching program that you should invest in. And there are coaching programs out there that charge an arm and a leg and are under providing value for what you're spending. You do not need to spend top dollar. Just because you spend top dollar does not mean that it is the best coaching program for you. Just because it's a coaching program that you've seen a lot of other girls doing does not mean that it's a coaching program for you. You need to do the research. Find a coach that you vibe with. Find a coaching program that meets all of your needs to elevate you, the things that you know you need to be focusing on in order to reach that next level, and shop around. Truly, truly shop around. And if you've been with a coach for a long time, please, I beg of you, do not stick with that coach purely out of loyalty if you're not actually getting something out of it. Please. And I tell my clients that too. And I've had clients that step away and go working with other coaching programs and like truly, truly no skin off my back. You do you. I am not one size fits all. I know that I am a little niche and I like it that way. I'm not going to work with every single girl that I have a consult with, and that's okay. I think that is the beauty behind offering consultations, is to explore what works for you and what doesn't. But it really bothers me and it breaks my heart when I hear about girls, when I have consultations that have invested in a coaching program. Maybe they went on like a weekend retreat, or they did like, I don't know how, a certain number of weeks or number of months that, was thousands of dollars. And what they received was cookie cutter, same package that everybody else is getting. If that works for you, if that's the kind of program you need and you find so much value in that you don't even care how much you spend, great, go for it. But don't feel obligated. Don't feel like you are not going to succeed if you don't invest that amount of money in a program, especially if it's just not quite everything that you're looking for or everything that you need to help you excel personally. So I say this as a coach. I feel like this is why it's maybe like crazy for me to be saying, but don't break the bank. Please. Like, if coaching is going to put you in debt, don't do it. Please don't do it. There are plenty of resources out there that will help elevate your game, that will help elevate you, that will help elevate your skills so that you can succeed, that aren't going to cost an arm and a leg, that aren't going to cause you so much stress because of the financial side of things. I literally just had a client text me yesterday and say, I'm so sorry, like I got to take a step back because of finances right now. Totally. Please put like your well-being first. Coaching is not a necessity. It's awesome. Like, as a coach, I can say that. I worked with a coach who I loved, who completely turned the game around for me, but it's not a necessity. Okay. So please don't think that you need to break the bank in a coaching program in order to win. That's another one I could probably do an entire episode on, but let's move on. This is also a budget-centered area. You do not need to have the most expensive dress. And in fact, a couture gown isn't necessarily the best gown just because it's couture. If it doesn't fit you quite right, if it walks really weird because it's too heavy, or there's all this beading that's getting in your way, or if the train is kind of weird or whatever, just because it's couture and it looks amazing under lights does not mean that it's the best dress for you. So you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on a gown, especially for locals, you guys. Oh my gosh, please. This is an unpopular opinion. For sure. Do you, if you've got the budget and you want a new gown for locals and that's fun for you, yeah, go for it, because pageants are glam and that's awesome. But please just recycle an old gown. Like, I think I did purchase a new gown. I think it was only $500 for my last local in the Miss America organization, the year that I won Miss Wisconsin. I did buy a new gown. I had the budget for it. I was interested in having something new. It had been a couple of years since I competed. I wanted something fresh. But in every other competition, I recycled. I even wore my Miss Wisconsin gown that I won in was a gown that I had borrowed to wear for one of the crowning ceremonies during Laura Kepler's homecoming in Wisconsin when she crowned me Miss Wisconsin as her successor. I wore the exact same gown. I did not feel the need to wear a new gown. Again, it's fun. It's so fun. If you've got the budget or you have a sponsor or whatever, yeah, great, find a new gown. That's awesome. Or if there's something drastically wrong with your last gown, sure. But it is not necessary to have a new gown every single time. It's just really not. So find something that works for you. Find something that you're comfortable and confident in. It's always going to be new judges. Locals, you may have some crossover of some people that are in the pageant industry and have seen you compete before. But I had that, and they didn't judge me poorly because I wore that gown at state before. It's completely fine to recycle and reuse. So the most expensive dress isn't always the best dress for you, and it's definitely not necessary. All right. I made a TikTok about this yesterday, and no one has commented to tell me what the big deal of this is. But secrecy regarding your paperwork. But like, my unpopular opinion also includes secrecy around your wardrobe or your business plan as the title holder. But like, any kind of secrecy of like, I'm going to reveal my talent at state competition, or I'm going to reveal my gown at state competition. Okay, I get some of that's just fun because you're like, oh, like, I'm just so excited to reveal it on the big stage. And yeah, for sure, do that. That's super fun. But if it's because you don't want to give your competition an edge, like, you got to assess your mindset. Like, that's all I can say. If you are worried about the other girls that you are competing with stealing something from your paperwork, or like having some kind of a leg up because they know the depths of your business plan, or seeing your gown and somehow finding a better gown, I don't really know. Again, I don't understand the mentality. I posted a TikTok. No one has explained to me the big deal behind the secrecy. But like, if those are the things that you're worried about, you need to switch up your mindset, because there is no, how like, I don't even know. I'm so speechless about this. How does someone else seeing your gown affect the way that you show up in that gown? How does someone else seeing your talent affect the way that you show up performing that talent? And if they're going to show up with something similar, you're still both being judged separately. And I mean, as a judge, I don't know that I'd sit there and be like, oh my gosh, like, they stole each other's talent, I'm going to mark them down for that. I might think, oh, they come from the same dance studio, or, oh, they have the same choreographer, right? Like, but you're going to have different songs and different outfits and different technique levels and different performance, because you guys are all uniquely you. And if you are constantly, consistently showing up authentically as you, and always pushing yourself to up level because you want to up level, not because somebody else is doing something awesome and you're feeling like beneath them or less than, but truly because you want to push yourself to do more and to be better, that's all you can do. We really have to stop this like competitive, catty energy. That's what it is. I'm going to say it. It's catty. That is catty energy. Being secretive about your wardrobe, your talent, your paperwork, the stuff that you're doing with your initiative, like the things that you're doing to fundraise. And if somebody else is stealing the way that you're fundraising and somehow that's going to make them look better than you or something, I don't even know. Like, it's just catty. It is perpetuating the stigma of pageant women. I'm not here for it. So stay in your own lane. Stay focused on you. If somebody else steals from you, that's obviously their problem because they don't have it in themselves to come up with their own amazing ideas. And also, like, there's going to be a lot of crossover in business plans and CSIs or platforms or serve initiatives. Like, there's going to be a lot of crossover because we have similar topics. We have similar kind of recipes for what needs to be done, like bringing on sponsors, bringing on partnerships, speaking to students, speaking at community events. Like, that stuff's going to cross over, you know? So, like, let's just not worry so much about what other people are doing. We cannot control, as Mel Robbins says with the let them theory, we cannot control what other people do, think, or say. So we got to just let that go. We got to move on. We got to stay focused on yourself. And part of this is coming from, I know that there are girls that work with the same coach, and I've heard that certain coaches might share other girls' paperwork with them, or that it all kind of starts to look the same because they're working with the same coach or whatever. And there's like all this angst about other girls knowing what you're doing. Or like this, and I've heard this too, where girls come to me and want to coach with me, but they don't want anybody else to know that I'm coaching them, or they don't want to coach with somebody else because they know most of the girls in that state coach with that person, and they want, a leg up somehow by using a different coach. And I'm like, stay in your lane, stop focusing on being competitive and being better than the other girls, and find a coach, do the things, practice the stuff that makes you better overall, not just better than somebody else. That's a twisted mindset, and we need to move past it and grow out of it. Okay. This next one is, I want to preface this by saying that I am so grateful for sponsors of various pageant systems. I would not have been able to compete the years that I did without sponsors, without donations. They're incredible. I 100% believe in paying patronage to sponsors of organizations, paying them back or paying it forward for what they have done for you. But we need to move past this idea that in order to do well in a competition, you absolutely have to use one of that title's sponsors. So whether it's a photographer sponsor, which again, like, I don't want any shade for this. I wholeheartedly appreciate sponsors and would encourage girls to go to the sponsors. But if that style or that the amount just isn't in your budget, or it's just not a right fit for you, like, there's no obligation, and it's not going to break your outcome just because you don't use the photographer sponsor, or you don't use the hair and makeup sponsor that weekend at competition that is supplied through the organization, or that they encourage you to use and invest in. I've heard of it. Girls go and they use one of the sponsors, like specifically hair and makeup, I've heard of recently, where the makeup just was not great for them. It didn't work, and they ended up just in tears because they didn't feel good about the way they looked. And in hindsight, wish they would have just did what was right for them in the first place, rather than feeling obligated as if they're playing the game. I think that's the thing, is like feeling like you need to play the game in order to win. And I understand too that there are different pageant systems. There are different areas of the state, or of the country rather, different states that are maybe a little bit more political than others. And there is a little sense of that, like earning your place or playing the game, or having some more of that, just being more of a veteran to the organization, and having quote unquote paid your dues. Like, I get that there may be a component to that. So within the scope of understanding that, if it's going to mess up your performance, your mindset, get under your skin, to use a sponsor that isn't quite working for you, that doesn't make sense for you, don't do it. That's the bottom line. Just don't do it, even if you think that it's going to somehow set you back. Sometimes you have to take the path of least resistance. So what I mean by that is, if you are afraid that not working with a sponsor is going to affect the outcome because you have to play kind of a game, this pageant system's a little bit more political, and it's going to mess with your mindset if you don't use that sponsor, then yeah, that maybe is the path of least resistance. Even if you don't love the work of that sponsor, it's still maybe the path of least resistance if your mindset isn't going to be as shaky because you ended up using the sponsor and that was a better decision for you. However, if using that sponsor is going to mess with your mindset because of the product that you get from that sponsor, and that upsets you more, then that's certainly not the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance is actively choosing what works better for you and not using a sponsor, using someone else, or doing your own hair and makeup. So I think that may be just a really good rule of thumb. The path of least resistance doesn't mean zero resistance. It just means it's the lesser of two evils. Let me flip my little note over. All right, let me hop on my soapbox for some more. Stop doing what everyone else is doing and focus on what's best for you. Period. I said it. I said it. I said it. I said it. Comparison is not necessarily bad. We can learn a lot through the use of comparison. We can learn what we like, what we don't like. We can mimic so that we are really gaining skills or better understanding the industry by looking at the veterans of the industry and doing more of what they're doing so that, we just learn by practicing what we're seeing. We have done it our entire lives. We will always do it. It's just human nature. Comparison is a natural part of our human nature. However, if you're doing what somebody else is doing because that's what led them to success, and that's the only reason you're doing it, and you're not taking a step back and wondering, is this my style? Is this something that I would do if I didn't have any influence from the outside? If you're doing it solely because you think that's what's going to get you the win, and yeah, you might win, but is it worth it? Are you really staying true to yourself? Are you going to look back and be like, I kind of wish I would have shown up as me? Are you being the best version of yourself by trying to be somebody else? No, you're trying to be the best version of that other person, not the best version of you. It's impossible to be the best version of you if you're trying to be just like somebody else. Oh, that's important. Let me say it again. It is impossible to be the best version of you if you are trying to be just like somebody else. So when it comes to hairstyles, I know that we've got like the swoop, pageant swoop, but maybe you look better with the center part. Or maybe you have really curly, like tight curly hair, but you're trying to straighten it and do the big curls and the bouffant curls. But first of all, that sounds exhausting. I know that is a lot of work. That's a lot of product. That's a lot of time that you have to put into it. But maybe you look stunning and you actually stand out with your natural hair. Of course, elevated and well taken care of, but still natural to you. Or like if you're trying to do a makeup trend, but it's really just not working with your bone structure or with your coloring, or it's not really emphasizing your eyes, or it's drawing all the attention to your lips instead of someone like making eye contact with you because the color is too bright on you and you actually need more of a neutral nude color. Like you have to do some practice and get some feedback on what looks best for you. We don't need to show up all of us looking exactly the same in order to succeed in pageants. In fact, if you look at the finalists at national competitions, you'll see for the most part, especially Miss America this year, everyone had a pretty different look. Each look was unique to them. Now, that doesn't mean everyone's going to love everyone's look. Not everyone's going to love your look. Period. And that's okay. That's something we all just have to be okay with and just own it. All right. Let's dive into some like unpopular opinions and pet peeves of mine for interview. These are my last two for this podcast. So the second to last thing that is a pet peeve of mine and maybe an unpopular opinion, it's spinning everything back to your platform or everything back to your CSI in interview, or if you're getting an onstage question. If they are not asking you about your initiative or your platform, like, answer the question directly as to what they're asking you about. You should not be spinning everything back to your platform because you are dynamic. You are multifaceted. There is so much more value that you bring to the table than just your initiative, the things that you've done with that initiative or the things that you want to do with that initiative. Judges only remember 5 to 7% of the words that you say anyway. So make sure that you are delivering personality, and you can't always deliver this different like sides of your personality by talking about the same dang thing throughout your interview. So switch it up, answer each question directly, have more talking points of things that you want to talk about and share with the judges that are coming from your heart and coming from your knowledge and passion and unique ideas about the world and what you want to accomplish. It should not all come back to your platform. To me, that is a very like beginner strategy for interview. is like when you are first starting out with interview and learning how to interview and learning how to answer questions, it's a pretty solid strategy to spin things back to your platform, especially if that's something that you feel confident and comfortable talking about. But as you grow and as you mature in your communication skills, you should be able to provide a lot more depth within your interview outside of your initiative. And then finally, oh, if you are one of my clients listening that I have hounded you for about this, I'm sure you're going to laugh at this. I personally really can't stand it when someone starts a sentence with, as someone who, and then goes into describing themselves and then goes into making a point about what that means to them as someone who has a communications degree, as someone who has spent the last 4 years coaching pageant women, as someone who has a podcast, as someone who is a wife and a dog mom of 2. Like it's appropriate sometimes. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with it sometimes, but it's when it's overused or when it's used in ways that make you sound pompous that I just can't handle it. And I see it so much, like in TikToks, in onstage question, in mock interviews. I'm hearing this as someone who, quite frequently, can you just please say, I'm a coach. I've been coaching for 4 years. I have a podcast. And with that, blah, 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 blah. Or I am a wife and a dog mom of 2. And because of that, I am blah, 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 blah. Or I feel blah, 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 blah. Like it should not, please just catch yourself. To me, this is almost as bad as saying way too frequently to the point where it's distracting, using the word like every other word, or any other filler words, as someone who has that level of annoyance to me. It just, to me, it is not solid professional communication. Again, every once in a while, I think it's called for and it makes perfect sense because I hear it in like national news interviews and stuff too. But when it's overused, especially in pageantry, and you're using it as a way to elevate yourself or make yourself sound awesome in some way, or prove your point, or assert that you're very knowledgeable in this area, like, I don't know. It gives me the ick. And I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Please let me know. I may be the only person that notices this, but it became very apparent for me, I think last year and maybe the year before within my client calls, and especially in our group calls when we were doing mock interviews together, that I was hearing a lot of this as someone who, and it's just not necessary, and it distracts me, at least, from the point that you're trying to get to. So I don't think you need to use as someone who. You can just say, I am. Or I have a degree in. So that's my list of unpopular opinions and things that irk me and just are generally pet peeves of mine. So I want to hear some of yours. Please share with me. Like, and am I way off base? Like, I also want to hear the other side of things. If you think that it's really important to keep your paperwork secret, please tell me why. Find me on TikTok and like explain to me why it's a big deal. I'm genuinely asking. I don't want to argue. I really want to know kind of the reasoning behind this. Yeah. So I'm always wanting to learn, but in the past 4 years, and then ever since really competing, starting to compete almost 2 decades ago, these are just some of the things that have lined up in my brain of things that bother me. So anyway, with that, I hope this was at least entertaining for you. Take it or leave it. If you really believe in using sponsors to do well, great. If you want to spend an arm and a leg on coaching because it'll give you a level up, awesome. If you absolutely need to buy the Couture gown, great. If you want to focus so much on your personal branding that you are just really honed in on that, great. If you really feel the need to do what everybody else is doing in order to succeed, awesome. Like, you have the freedom to do whatever you want, and it's not going to bother me any in terms of like, it's not going to affect my life any. Obviously, it bothers me because I otherwise wouldn't have talked about it today, but it doesn't affect my life. So you do you. I'm going to cheer you on no matter what. But I'm always going to encourage you to be the best version of you and do the things that make sense for you, protect your peace, protect your energy, and show up vulnerable and authentic, fearlessly in everything you do. Okay. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. If anybody has any ideas or things that are really relevant to you right now and you'd love to hear me go off on a tangent about it for about a half hour, let me know. Find me on Instagram at Sash and Soul. Otherwise, I'm on TikTok at Fearlessly Authentic Coach. I'm also on Instagram at Fearlessly Authentic Coach. So reach out. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you. And I will talk to you next week. All right. Bye. If you've been working so hard but still feel like something's missing, then I want to personally invite you to schedule a free coaching consultation. This is for you if you're tired of overthinking every detail. You're doing everything you can to prepare, practicing your walk, your talent, interview, refining your paperwork, and staying up late analyzing every possible outcome. You put in the work, but still question if you're doing enough or if you are enough. So in just one call, we'll talk through where you're at, what's been holding you back, and how you can start showing up fully prepared to win the title and actually do the job once you get it. If you're looking for more than just surface level prep and you're ready to prepare with strategy, support, and confidence that actually lasts, I'd love to be part of your process. Head to the link in the show description to grab your spot, and I'll see you there.